Right, ladies and gentlemen, good morning to everyone who just joined us. And for those who missed our introductions, I'm Enoch Mufikwe, Learning and Development Practitioner for Geotab Africa. I just want to say welcome to those of you who are joining us for the first time on our monthly webinar series. And in today's topic, we are going to be diving in and discussing fleet asset utilization. Okay. Just a quick reminder for those of us, or for those of you who are joining us for the very first time, welcome, firstly. And just take note that all our sessions are being recorded. So should you be interrupted signal-wise or any challenges, do not worry. You can catch our recording at a later stage on our social media platforms on YouTube, our YouTube channel. And while you're at it, don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter just to always be in the know and know when things happen in Geotab Africa. All right. So as we're about to start the session, I'm going to be switching off my camera off, and this is due to the fact that we currently have power outage or load shedding, as we mostly call it. Okay. So before we start with today's installment of our monthly webinar series, a bit of background about Geotab. So Geotab is all about reliability, security, and big data. With almost 250 million kilometers driven daily, and with Geotab growing at a fast pace, and currently we have almost 4 million telematic devices in operation and 40 billion data points that are collected on a day-to-day basis. With a footprint spreading more than half of Africa and with a presence on all 7 continents. For decades, Geotab has provided fleet telematic solutions to both small and some of the biggest fleet-based organizations globally. All right. So that's just for the guys joining us for the first time in terms of knowing a little bit about Geotab. Please make sure to visit our website also just to get more of what Geotab is all about at the end of the day. All right, so let's jump into the session. So today I will be talking about fleet asset utilization, and you can expect the following from today's discussions. Fleet asset utilization, an overview and understanding and a bit of breakdown in terms of understanding what it's all about and why one should look at fleet asset utilization, as fleet managers and supervisors across the globe. Why is it important for us to basically monitor and report on fleet asset utilization? And then we also then will be discussing utilization reports that are currently available on my Geotab. And importantly, what steps do we then take with all the data that we currently have? What advantages do we have or do we get when we, as fleet managers, start monitoring and reporting on asset utilization within our fleets? So asset utilization is a process or a way of monitoring, and it basically allows you to measure how efficiently or inefficiently your fleet use your assets. Now, my Geotab has a few reports that can help you to gather and to track valuable data on your assets. And the long run, it's basically going to assist you to discover operational inefficiencies that can harm your organization rates. And the reports that I will be touching on today can help you to make informed decisions to keep your business moving efficiently and to manage costs. Because at the end of the day, asset utilization is the who, the what, where, when, and how of your fleet. So being aware of what usage is trending in your fleet will help you as a fleet manager or a fleet supervisor to answer questions like, is your fleet being used to its full potential? I mean, in times like these, where operations might temporarily be scaled back or even ramped up, checking fleet utilization more frequently is helpful for fitting vehicles to your changing business needs and validating if vehicles are being used efficiently or not. So when you think fleet asset utilization monitoring, the key performance indicators here will be, for example, the number of days your vehicles are being driven, how much time is spent while driving, which is also a good indicator for productivity, you know. And lastly, the mileage that is on your assets. And all of this ties then back to total cost of ownership. What is the cost of owning your vehicles at the end of the day? You know, is it making sense to have the number of vehicles that you have? And does it make sense for your organization to use each and every vehicle within your fleet the way it is currently being used? And all this data will be made available from how often you monitor these reports at the end of the day. So you can easily view these vehicle statistics from your telematics without needing to consult equipment logs or timesheets. And my Geotab provides a standard set of reports that will help you to assess your vehicle utilization. So why is asset utilization important? Why look at asset utilization? Now, that is the burning question here. So, most businesses in nature are rarely static, most especially in a fleet-based organization, you know? I mean, delivery and customer routes change, drivers rotate, and some drivers take vehicles home while others do not. So new equipment is introduced and old equipment is retired. You can name it, the list is endless. Now, just as much as with all those changes that happened, as policies and equipment should also change. Fleets need to ensure that all vehicles are being used properly and by the right drivers. So here are some advantages that you can see on your screen on reporting fleet utilization. Fleet managers can rotate vehicles for service requirements to manage vehicle downtime. What does this mean for you as a fleet manager or a fleet-based organization? This will ensure that managers schedule and plan ahead for the servicing of their vehicles, meaning less unplanned vehicle downtime. Now, at the end of the day, we can all agree that unplanned repairs costs far greater than planned servicing. So in this case, planning was going to cost you far less than a surprise repair or an unplanned repair of your vehicles. And we see that another advantage, it will assist any manager to see how conditions are impacting trip distances so you can adjust your shifts accordingly. You can ensure that vehicles are being used to their maximum life cycle before taking them out of service. Again, going back to total cost of ownership, at the current moment, with the mileage on the vehicle, is it still feasible? Is it still making sense cost-wise to keep and to utilize our fleet? And also, releasing your vehicles too early can also have a negative cost impact on your accounts at the end of the day. And then it will also assist you to identify vehicles that could be replaced with electric vehicles, right? This is a topic that is slowly happening, and we can see that within the African market, more and more countries are moving towards EVs or electric vehicles. So my Geotab offers fleet managers the opportunity to see if introducing electric vehicles to their fleet can save them more by performing an electric vehicle suitability assessment, all right? So there is also Geotab's Fleet Electrification Knowledge Center, which is your go-to resource for those interested in finding out more or planning, you know, on embarking on an EV fleet journey. So these reports can unveil which vehicles are hardly used, overused, or in downtime for maintenance or repair. Monitoring this activity will help to keep your fleet well balanced from a replacement cycling standpoint, and also quickly point out to you any areas of opportunity to redeploy vehicles into other areas of the business. Okay. So holding on to consistently unused assets is very expensive to tag. And more so in this part, we can all understand why is it that holding on to an asset with a high mileage can then be costly. How do you manage that? And this is where fleet asset utilization is going to step in as a solution. Having a fleet management system that allows you to manage and to monitor your fleet on one platform is key in today's unending fleet challenges that we all see. So Geotab is solution driven, and the following My Geotab reports provide clear insight to vehicle utilization. Number one, asset utilization report, which can be used to monitor individual vehicle data. Fleet utilization report. Now, this is basically going to give you a holistic picture of how the entire fleet assets are being used, which is also a good tool to use in order to have control over total cost of ownership. Then there is the fleet distance trend report. And also, we will also be touching on the Watchdog Report. Okay. Now, let's have a look or have a quick overview on each report as mentioned. So we're first going to start with the asset utilization report. This report provides an overview of the 10 most and 10 least utilized vehicles in the fleet. This is a great report to keep on your My Geotab dashboard and is useful in identifying vehicles to be rotated with less utilized assets to manage mileage across your assets, all right? And to make sure that the identification of top versus bottom used vehicles is correct, the report also shows the number of days the vehicles are driven. Now, it is such data that will help fleet managers to decide whether to keep certain vehicles or not, especially those that are not used as much as others. The asset utilization report can also help keep or push productivity levels in the fleet through benchmarking, right? Ask yourself, what are my 10 most utilized assets doing differently than the others? Now, this can help you to optimize time. So, what strategies have they put in place and how can they help to make the rest of my fleet more efficient? So those are the questions that you would then ask yourself, right? Or for the least utilized vehicles, perhaps they can be repurposed within the business for other revenue streams if it shows that they are not needed at all. One would be surprised how many of our clients use this report to move vehicles to other departments where they will be used to increase the numbers instead of just being an idle vehicle, as indicated in the least used vehicles in their current department or business unit. So when running this report, ladies and gentlemen, it is recommended that you look at it on a 1 week or 1 month period and to set the sub periods or your groups to daily. Okay. So the fleet utilization report, on the other hand, now this report is an easy to read and useful tool for all fleet managers. It is more of a summary type report that provides a snapshot of when and how your assets are being used. From the report, from the report, one can also view that we see your mileage ranges from 0 to 100 kilometers, 101 to 200 kilometers, and so forth. And it shows a count of vehicles used in each range. This report is useful for identifying both upward and downward spikes in usage by specific vehicles or drivers, and where your customers or services range is. Now, fleet managers can combine the data on this report with the customer visits report or the customer versus non-customer visits report on my Geotab. And that combination will not only show how much assets are being used, but also, most importantly, it will show if the assets are used in the right way or for the right reasons. Ultimately, fleet managers will then achieve higher productivity levels or profit margins within fleet-based organizations. So you can run this report daily for a 30-day rolling mileage for vehicles and for your drivers. And in this report, you want to see a balanced bar chart indicating a well-stabilized asset utilization. Okay. And while we all can agree that in some fleet-based organizations, not all departments obviously use company assets in the same manner or the same amount, right? So my Geotab gives fleet managers the opportunity to confidently make that decision and to make it from a well-informed perspective. So now let's quickly touch on the fleet distance trend report. So the fleet distance trend report shows the total distance that is driven against the average distance per vehicle, and it conveys the business climate, allowing fleet managers to use accurate measurable data to compare each asset to itself and to the rest of the fleet assets based on trends and make proper planning as to a way forward that will have the business interest. And fleet managers can use this report to understand, is there capacity to add or to downsize company assets? All right, so what do we mean from this? Or what do I mean? From the top graph, fleet managers can identify the average distance driven by each vehicle. Based on that, I, as a fleet manager, can then make an informed decision if this is good for my assets and driver safety. Let's not forget the safety aspect. Now, it will help to answer questions like, are we overusing or underusing company vehicles? Are we catering to the best of our abilities to our customers when it comes to delivery statistics? Do we really need the number of vehicles that we currently have, or should we increase, and where do we increase in the business unit if that's the case? So all these answers, as you can see, are important in order to ensure that you are moving in the right direction. But where do you then find that resource, that assistance to make informed decisions? The reports. So from the bottom graph, as a fleet manager, not only are you presented with data showing how your assets are being used, but possibly the report also then shows our busiest days where the business can achieve the highest profit margins, right? Now, with this type of data, you as a fleet manager or supervisor can easily schedule company assets in for service on the least busy days and to rotate them accordingly. Now, the trend report that could be run for this trend report can be basically run for, say, last week, 1 month, the last 3 months, or year to date. And Some other ways to use the fleet distance trend report are to identify seasonal and regional trends. Now, this goes back to also identifying, like I was saying, your peak period, whether it's on a daily basis, a weekly basis, monthly basis, or seasonal basis. All right. To assist fleet managers to create budget forecasts, find the best time to schedule vehicle maintenance and to manage your downtime effectively. Now, you can also use this report to trend your activity to identify any changes or spikes in your distance being driven. And the last report that I'll be touching on that can assist you to manage your asset utilization is the Watchdog Report. Now, this report provides a quick snapshot on overall device communication and status. At the end of the day, one can view the Watchdog Report as your device doctor, okay? The Watchdog Report allows you to confirm that all the reports that you run in my Geotab are up to date with the latest and most accurate information, from which then you can make your informed decisions. And using this report effectively can ensure that fleet managers or you as fleet supervisors are in control of the data that is made available. Are you using accurate? Are you using up-to-date and most relevant data? Is my devices communicating? What's the health status? So the report itself is going to then remove that administrative process for you and give it to you on a single platform, which is the Watchdog Report. So all fleet managers in this case will be given proper training from highly expert or highly trained support from Geotab on what actions are to be taken should your device indicate a non-communicating status. All right. And just to also then highlight it, guys, as fleet managers, you will always be a few steps ahead in terms of knowing or seeking clarity on vehicles that went in for repairs and the number of days the vehicle is in downtime, and with what necessary actions can be taken in order to ensure that your devices are constantly monitoring. So a healthy device should communicate at least once every 24 hours. All right. So in terms of today's topic, this then brings us to the end of the reports that will assist you when it comes to fleet asset utilization. Now, remember, all the reports are made available on my Geotab, and with the user-friendly system that Geotab has, or my Geotab is, there are three ways that you can access all our reports. You can either have them on my Geotab dashboard for an easy one-click access. And that is easy for monitoring as well as interpretation, understanding of what is happening in your fleet on one snapshot. The second way that you can access your reports is then through automated emailed reports for those important ones, or for those days where you don't have the time to actually go and view them. They will be emailed to the designated users. And this is to ensure that no important information or data is missed out. All right. And then the last way that one can access any of our reports is on the system. As you're navigating, you can pull a report of whatever data. So you're not limited to only the data or the reports that has been pre-designed. Okay. At the end of the day, remember that fleet asset utilization reporting will help with ensuring that the total cost of ownership is kept as low as possible. Does it make sense for you to have the number of vehicles? Are you using the right vehicles for your fleet and the line of business that you're in? Is there a possibility or a space in your fleet to move over to electric vehicles? All right. So with basically what we have said, what are the next steps as fleet managers? Now that we've touched on everything, based on the results, there are different steps that you can make in terms of making improvements. And here are several ideas. Number one, have the most utilized drivers coach other drivers on how they optimize their days. If fleet managers benchmark on the right trends and actions, fleets can achieve lower vehicle downtime and higher productivity levels. Rotating your vehicles to help extend their life cycles or to repurpose vehicles as highlighted early. This will help you with total cost of ownership and ensuring that fleets don't have idle vehicles that are still costly. For example, paying insurance or maintaining the unneeded or idle vehicle. Okay, clearly define your acceptable and unacceptable vehicle usage, and for the clarification of what is acceptable and unacceptable, this is where fleet managers can use customized rules and triggers within my Geotab to always have the notifications coming through as soon as those unacceptable actions take place. And then we see there, adjusting your business practices to maximize warehouse locations. Now, with regards to this one, another example would be to change routes for improved mileage and time saving. For instance, look at where your vehicles are based versus their routes. Instead of having drivers traveling out to their regular route, maybe as a fleet manager, you can have them to start their shift from home and start by servicing local areas, right? So you as fleet manager can also optimize on routes on my Geotab route optimization, as well as compare current routes to any of your planned routes to see which are the best routes by running my Geotab's planned versus actual routes. Now, if you'd like to learn more about any of the other reports that I've highlighted or any other solution, remember just to get in touch with us using our social media platforms. And you can also request a demo just to learn more and see how Geotab can provide a solution to your fleet-based needs. And in terms of other products and services, we do have the Geotab Marketplace. Remember that when visiting the Geotab Marketplace, this is a platform that shows over 200 third parties that we have collaborated with to ensure that we enlarge the power of your fleet management solution, where you can cater by making your own selection from our third parties. So visit the marketplace, learn more, and see what other products and services can be introduced or absorbed into your solution. All right. So as we've come to the end of the session, I just wanted to see, do we have any questions that were posed in the chat? All right, I see that we don't have any questions at the moment. Lovely stuff. Now, remember that the recording is made available. If you're viewing this at a later stage and only then you've got a couple of questions that you would like to ask, feel free to drop it in on our social media platforms, and our dedicated team will be sure to address all your questions as much as possible. All right, I'm just going to also give you guys a platform in case one of you, there's a question that you're still figuring out how to ask. Please drop me a question on the chat. I will be waiting to address any questions. For now, from my side, I just want to say thank you very much for everyone who is in the session. And as highlighted earlier on, please be sure to subscribe on our social media platforms, our YouTube channel, Geotab Africa, as well as our newsletter to ensure that you don't miss out on any of our exciting news as Geotab is growing at a fast pace. Okay, we've got an open mic. Do you have a question? Jose, do you have a question?
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, good. Thank you. I was just hearing your session for the question section. I have a question.
Yes.
Actually, we are currently in the decision or in the thinking of moving to Geotab. Currently, we are using telematics. So, in the current platform, we have got few drawbacks for for this current application. One of the main pain points is that our truck mixers, we are a ready-mix concrete supplier. So our trucks are our own trucks, means 100% owned by our own company, like 110 truck mixers and 30 mobile pumps and other small vehicles along. It will like 250, 300 fleets on road. So the
Okay.
main thing is that we have group company with stringent requirements of driving hours and other things. So the sessions are more likely on the fleets, but in case the fleets are used by multiple users, how we can avoid the fleets being mismanaged or not properly taken care or uh, misused by some users. So is there any kind of reports like which is directly linked with the driving users and the number of users have lastly used in these trucks? Like if you want to run a report for a particular asset, that percentage wise, like the main thing for the truck mixers is that if you avoid using multiple drivers, more likely the vehicle will have good life and less breakdown. So I think you
Uh,
get my point. So is
no,
there any something
100%. I completely get your point. So in terms of monitoring the usage of your vehicles, we have a couple of reports, including our exceptions report that will identify the driver behavior in terms of harsh braking, harsh cornerings, and any alerts that you would like to basically know of as it happens. Things like RPM, you basically name it, and the report will see how we can run the exceptions report for you. And another thing that I picked up that you're saying you are quite challenged by is you guys have to rotate your drivers in one vehicle. So we also have driver tags or driver identity tags that you can help to set up to say, number one, to identify which drivers is in the driver. Now, with that collaborated into the exceptions report, it's going to be easy for you to identify accurately which driver is actually misusing or has a bad driving behavior, which in the long run will then minimize unnecessary repairs, unnecessary accidents, and so forth. Okay.
Okay. And one more thing I would like to ask is that in order to our approach towards decarbonization and groups policy, one of our main pain points now we are facing is that the existing telematics, which we are not able to track the deviation of the drivers to a optimized route. Means if you assign a driver for a particular route, normally now we are sharing by WhatsApp locations or live locations from the site. So in the telematics, is there, sorry, from the current Geotab, is there any facility to get a particular location? If we share to Geotab, it will give you the optimized route and it will track the driver is violating the routes or he is adhering to the route in what efficiency or he is deviating from this one. So for this one, we have to give report to the group carbonization teams that we are monitoring it very closely. So this is also one of the main pain points we are drawback of our existing this software which we are used for application which we are using now. So what's the stand of Geotab for this one?
Okay, no. I think for that one, we then need to cater in terms of we do have planning, route optimization features, and we also have tracking capabilities. And with that, I think also making use of our planned versus actual routes will help you to also then identify where and why drivers then deviate. Possibly they're deviating for wrong reasons or for the right reasons. But what I'll also do is we will take down your details and we'll ensure that one of our sales consultants can have a chat with you and we can identify all the problems that you highlighted and how Geotab can then be a solution to your problems that you've highlighted and more. Okay.
One last question.
Yes.
Vehicle fuel consumption rate for idling per hour, or the vehicle fuel consumption rate, it will be automatically uh, received in the reports, or we need to do any modification for this one to get these features in our trucks on the Geotab reports? Is it readily available, or it needs to be done something on the trucks with the Geotab application?
Okay, so depending on the vehicles, our devices, and also depending on the price plan that you're on, devices can then extract engine data as well as fuel data. And in cases where the fuel data is not then present, there are a couple of things that our technicians will advise to see if it's possible. And if so, then it will be then the right way to move forward.
Okay.
Okay, so there is a solution in place for monitoring fuel that can be put in place for you. All right. And I think we'll be excited to also then just to explain everything in further detail, just to also highlight to you how it works and what other benefits could you then also expect with regards to that data. All right. Thank you very much, Jose. I see we've got a chat from Nicholas. In case you have repair data set for your fleet, does it give you access to feed it in and get the cost per vehicle, repair per period, and then updating mileages? All right, Nicholas, I think this is a very interesting question. What I'll do already is I will also then assign one of our consultants to specially get in touch with you, just to also see and get clarity on your question in terms of what exactly would you like to know. All right. I think I've got your email address. Yes, we do. So please be on the lookout. You will be in communication with one of our sales consultants. Okay. Idling is another challenge as well. How do we harmonize the reports to capture utilization? All right. So again, with regards to idling, that can be combated or that can be answered through our, for example, the exceptions report, where you try to observe who idles or get a notification every time any of your vehicles idles more than a certain period of time. And you can concurrently run another report, which will also monitor how much time is spent driving versus time spent while idling. So this is going to be a good indicator, not in terms of only idling, but now also focusing on productivity, depending on the nature of your business. Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Nicholas. Okay. So guys, remember, if any of you have any questions and didn't get the opportunity to ask them in the session, the video will be made available on YouTube. And please expect the link to be in your inboxes following this webinar. And you can post then your questions anywhere on our social media or on YouTube. And my dedicated team has said we'll address them as soon as possible. Once again, thank you so much to each and every one of you guys. And I do hope to see you in our next installment. Can't wait. Have a lovely day further.